Welcome to Living the Smarter Science of Slim, where we provide a scientifically proven lifestyle for long-term health and fat loss by eating more and exercising less, but smarter.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor and Carrie Brown coming at you with another episode of Living the Smarter Science of Slim. Carrie, how you doing today?
I am doing awesome.
I am doing well as well because I'm gonna butcher this, but I think Carrie just fed me a cinnamon apricot cardamom.
No cinnamon.
Oh,
Apricot cardamom.
Oh, cardamom. It's like that and sea anemone. I cannot say either one of those words properly, but made me feel like I was at some sort of a French bistro. It was fabulous.
Yay!
It was good. You're going to post that up? Did you post it up yet? Or?
I haven't posted it yet, but it will be up soon.
No, it was...
Unfortunately...
It was good.
Jonathan and I have just eaten them all, so now I have to make another batch to photograph them.
No, but it was good stuff. So everyone tune in for that recipe, because actually Jonathan Bailey gives that 2 rare and thumbs up. It's a very unique taste, so I like it. I'm a fan. And other things to clap about this week has been a super exciting week. I have not gotten much sleep because this week we launched a brand new non-profit organization called Slim is Simple, which is really, really neat. We were lucky enough to get some angel investment funding out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, to create compelling educational multimedia resources that teachers and counselors and trainers and maybe government officials someday can use to teach the science, the simple and fun science of nutrition, rather than disproven theories or mythical dogma. So pretty excited about that.
Wow, teaching truth, whatever next.
Teaching facts. And yeah, so our first...
You're a brave man, Bailor.
I know. Well, the first thing we did was a short, well, it's not really that short, but it's a I guess you call it a full-length nutritional education piece, self-titled, so it's called Slim is Simple, and it's animated. It was inspired by the Schoolhouse Rocks series, where you've got some kind of fast-paced, and it's all animated. And I think folks will really like it. We're really, really excited about it. There's also some live action cut in of myself, and it's getting a lot of really good press. And I think it's gonna be a wild ride. And I'm just really excited about it. And we're gonna debut. I'll actually play the audio when we finish the podcast. So if you haven't watched the video, do watch the video. The audio will give you a sample, but the visuals are just excellent. We worked with a company called Bailor Media out of Fresno, California, and they did a level of animation and visual design on this thing that is just spectacular. So it was a lot of fun.
It is pretty awesome. It's definitely compelling. I loved it when you sent me my little sneak preview. I loved it. I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Carrie. And listeners, if you enjoy it, which I think you will, please, the one ask we have is to share this, because the whole point of these things are to enable us to freely distribute accurate and compelling information. So please give it a look. Primary place to find it is on YouTube, but there is a supporting website called slimissimple.org. And the homepage is really just a full screen immersive experience where you can watch that first video. And then you can click about, and there's some more information about the organization, as well as some of our partners, and some supporting videos, more behind the scenes stuff about why we created the video, and also a blooper reel, which I was not expecting to have created because there are bloopers of me. So
yay, we love that. It's worth going up to slimissimple.org just to see those.
Yes. And actually, and do remember, apparently, Slim is Simple is something else too. So slimissimple.com, as well as there's some things on YouTube that are called Slim is Simple. It'll be pretty clear what's our thing and what isn't, because it's not like it's some weird multi-level marketing thing. So
okay, that's not us.
No, that's not us.
No.
It's on YouTube. You'll see it's a slimissimple.org educational nonprofit effort or something like that. I mean, it's very clear what we are and what they are. But be sure when you talk to people, it's .org, not .com, .org, because they're gonna be like, oh yeah, no gimmicks on the .com site. Woo!
Great job.
But anyway, so Slim is Simple, new nonprofit, basically working to provide free resources for educators, influencers, everyone, just to get the correct information out there and hopefully get our kids involved too. I heard from my sister that my 11-year-old nephew and 13-year-old niece were glued to the computer screen, independent of the fact that their uncle was in it. They liked the animations and they thought it was neat. So hopefully we can get the kids involved too, get them eating right. So
I think it was great. I think you did a really outstanding job.
excellent. Well, stay tuned. At the very end of this podcast, we're going to broadcast the audio premiere of Slim is Simple, and then hop over to YouTube or just hop over to slimissimple.org. Check it out. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. And, share it at your school, share it at your church, share it wherever you want. Use it for curriculum. If you're a teacher or a trainer, it's free. It's yours. Enjoy it and do with it what you will. It's even Creative Commons licensed, so you can remix it if you want. Create your own Gangnam Style parody of it. I don't care. Let's just
Don't give me
people.
ideas, Jonathan.
Let's just be healthy. Because, Carrie, I was thinking about this morning. I was doing an interview about the effort, and people were asking me, isn't there, there already is nutrition curriculum out there, but people have health classes. But there's two problems with that. One is what we're being taught is wrong. But the other thing is it's also the same thing people were taught decades ago. And we don't use the same computers we used decades ago. We don't fly the same airplanes we flew decades ago. Nutritional science hasn't paused for the past 40 years, but yet we've still been taught the same things for the past 40 years and things that are clearly not working. So this is like the new era, the new science, the new curriculum. So hopefully we can rally around it and get it off the ground. Good stuff?
Good stuff.
Excellent.
Almost as good as my apricot cardamom muffins.
Oh, I love it. So now with that out of the way, stay tuned to actually hear it and check it out on the web. Let's get into some more FAQs, Carrie. Some FAQs for this week. The first one is one that is definitely a controversial one, but I don't think it needs to be controversial because, when we go on a sane lifestyle, eating seafood is a big part of that. And that's actually, people sometimes say, going sane seems very, very similar to paleo or caveman or primal or ancestral, whatever you want to call it. And it is. It's incredibly similar. There's very, very few differences. But one difference, I guess you could call it, is that in a sane lifestyle, we really want to go out of our way to eat seafood. That's important. It's, if we had to stack rank seafood versus meat, not that meat isn't good, but seafood is on that top of that where to get protein from pyramid, followed by grass-fed beef and free-range poultry. But when people hear about seafood, they sometimes think about these things we've seen in the news about mercury. And are we all going to turn to thermometers if we go sane?
We're all going to drop dead from mercury poisoning.
Yes.
Except we're not.
Exactly. So let's pop up a level here, right? So the concern here, which is totally valid, is foods that are otherwise healthy could be in some ways contaminated. And that is a concern that we should have about everything, right? Non-starchy vegetables could have been genetically modified or had weird pesticides used upon them. Or
E. coli. How many times
exactly.
have we had E. coli lettuce scares?
So, and there's, meat can have improper hormones in it. The point is that any food can be tainted. So the point is not to say, oh, well, don't eat this food because it may possibly have foo. It's eat high quality foods that don't have foo in them, right? We can go and we can ensure that our plants are not treated with improper pesticides. We can go and ensure that our meat is not overdone with hormones. And we can ensure that our seafood has been tested and has low levels of mercury. For the mercury thing, really keep in mind that whenever we're eating seafood, we're eating it instead of eating something else. And that something else, if it's the traditional Western diet, I promise you will do more harm to you than the sliver of mercury that may be found in some seafoods. And we're going to go out of our way to eat seafood that doesn't have a lot of mercury. So at the end of the day, it's all about doing the best you can and focusing on the big things, folks. Because again, like I said, if we want to eliminate all foods from our diet that may have been tainted in some way,
we will eat nothing.
You can't even drink water.
Right.
So, and you can't breathe because there's pollution in the air.
Right.
So if you're alive, there's nothing you can do to avoid these things. So just keep that in mind. And the same thing applies to protein supplements. There was some Consumer Reports news, probably, I don't know, over 2 years ago at this point, saying that certain protein supplements contain heavy metals. Yeah, absolutely avoid those and do a quick web search before you buy a protein supplement. But the takeaway that the media has you to believe is avoid protein supplements.
All of them.
That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Because by that logic, we avoid all food and all water and can't breathe.
It reminds me of that. There's a website that was saying that, you know, spinach is going to kill you because of the oxalate issue thing. And I'm like, you know, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Most people have absolutely no issues with oxalates at all.
Yep.
So to tell everybody globally that spinach is the enemy and is just, it's ridiculous.
And I think it's just short-sighted because we have to eat something. Like, at the end of the day, we have to eat something. So if we assume that nothing is perfect, then we have to pick our battles.
Right.
And the other thing to keep in mind, and I believe it was Gary Taubes who at least most recently brought this up, is that something can be not good for you, let's say, and not matter. Here's what I mean by this. Let's say that the oxalates in spinach, for example, let's say that if you could have spinach without those things, it would be better for you. Like, let's say that it's not ideal for you. However, let's say that a person who consumes spinach at even a SANE rate, which is a lot of spinach, let's say that doing that daily would actually not impact your health negatively unless you did it for 200 years. Well, none of us are going to live to be 200, so it kind of doesn't matter. And this is a long-standing tradition in medicine, right? For example, if you're a male and you get diagnosed, I believe, with prostate cancer at the age of 70, like, in order for that cancer to actually do anything to your body, it's so slow growing that they just won't treat it because they know you'll die before the cancer kills you.
Right.
So the same kind of thing here, right? Is the pollution in our air bad? Yes. Is it going to kill us before natural causes do? Probably not. So I wouldn't lose sleep over it. You know, we just got to do the best we can with what we've got.
Yep.
So
Yep.
let's keep
You're
that in
right.
mind. Keep it in mind. All right.
And given that we know that a lot of the quote unquote foods that are the prepackaged things in the grocery stores on the supermarket shelves, we know for sure that they will earn us heart disease and diabetes. For sure, why would you not go with something that may or may not?
Absolutely. And another way to phrase that is, if you have to choose between proven good plus theoretical bad, and your other option is proven bad, go with the former and don't let people who are just trying to sell
Rain on your
magazines
parade.
or get views on their blog post. Again, if we wanted to pick a fight with any substance on earth, we could find a way to do that. So let's not do that. Let's be peaceful.
And that's a good point, is that, you know, the only reason I want every single one of you listeners to go to my blog is so that you can enjoy healthy, super tasty, fabulous food that is going to help you in your fat loss and health goals. That's the only reason. That's it. That's the only reason. I mean, there's no agenda. There's no...
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's not anything.
That's what I mean. I mean, yes, I want you to go to my recipe site, but that's why. Because I want you to enjoy awesome, sane, healthy food that tastes fantastic.
I love it. I love it. Well, the next FAQ, Carrie, has to do with smarter exercise. And actually, the whole next series of FAQs have to do with smarter exercise. And this one is how to gauge the resistance you should be using when you're exercising eccentrically.
Okay.
All right, so I'll answer this one in a couple of ways. The first is, as a general rule of thumb, you will know you're exercising eccentrically with the proper amount of resistance when you no longer question how doing that once a week can have results. Let's put it that way. I mean, if the next day you're like, I could do that again, you have not yet arrived at the proper level of resistance.
Right.
If it's fun, you have not yet arrived at the proper level of resistance. if you can smile or talk to someone while you're doing it, you have not yet arrived at the proper level of resistance. I think a lot of people grossly underestimate how strong they are when they move slowly in an eccentric fashion. It's always priority number one to be safe and to gradually ease your way into more resistance. But please, we're trading quantity for quality here. We're exercising less, but we're not exercising less because we're lazy. We're exercising less because we should be using so much resistance that it's impossible for us to exercise more. We say, Jonathan, what type of resistance should I be using, or how much resistance should I be using? If you try to exercise eccentrically and you're acclimated and you've slowly increased your resistance on Monday, and you could do the same thing just a few days later, you didn't use enough resistance. Right. So bump the resistance up.
Right. And I think that part of the problem with that is, again, that we've been taught so repeatedly that more is better, more reps, more reps, more reps. It just feels weird to exercise so hard for such a short time and then actually have the feeling. I never did any traditional exercise that made it impossible for me to exercise, 1, 2, 3 days later.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a whole new experience for almost everybody. And that just, we just have to get over that, like with the food, we just have to get over that hump of all the misinformation that we've had for 40 years.
Yeah, and just to make sure we don't give an exaggerated message here too, I don't want people to hear, we're very quick to say the more is better theory is false, and it is, and it's also false in the amount of resistance arena as well. Like using too much resistance is also a bad idea. So don't just think keep adding resistance no matter what. And the way to know if you're using too much resistance is if you can't slowly lower the resistance for 10 seconds, or you can't do it for 10 seconds for the 6 repetitions, right? If you put so much weight on an eccentric chest press, for example, that you try to lower the weight and like you just drop it, that's too much. That's not better, that's worse. Because what we want to do is we want to balance what's called time under tension. We want to make sure that our muscles are working for a long enough period to get fully exercised, but we also want to ensure the resistance is high enough to maximize the type and number of muscle fibers used. And a great way to balance that is to go for those 6 10-second eccentric repetitions. And to do that such that the next 3 days, you're not even thinking about exercising, let alone being like, well, this is easy, I could do this again. And that's when you know you've arrived at the right resistance. It's not too little, not too much, very Goldilocks-like.
But again, don't, when you're first starting out, don't expect it to be perfect, and if you don't get it perfect, give up. Just it'll take you a little while to get used to how it feels, to feel what resistance is right. Don't worry if you don't get it right the first time. You probably won't, because it feels so different. So don't, just for the first few times you do it, just concentrate on finding out what resistance is right, figuring out how it feels, and then, after 3 or 4 times of doing it, then you can, worry about it being perfect. In
fact, Carrie's spot on. If it's really the first time you're doing it, you shouldn't at all be focused on how much resistance you can add. It's about understanding the movement and feeling comfortable with it. I would say it's really not until the 3rd go around that you should start really pushing yourself. And what I often find is that there's 3 phases, let's call it eccentric training. The first phase, let's call it the introductory phase, you focus on movements where you're slowly lowering yourself, because that in and of itself is not what we're usually doing, right? We're usually lifting weights, not focused on lowering weights. So we do that slowly. We start to feel comfortable with the movement, we get it. Then we start to add resistance, and we start to see like, okay, this is pretty challenging, but we're consciously lowering the resistance for 10 seconds. Like we're counting, 5, 6, and we're consciously lowering it. Like we're thinking to ourselves, okay, arms or legs, lower down. And then once we're comfortable with that, we move to the 3rd and final stage, which is we end up just trying to not move, but the resistance is so high that it makes us move. So we're not, it's a fine distinction, but once you do it physically, you'll see the difference. One is you're trying, here's a good analogy. One is you're sitting down, but you're sitting down slowly, but you're consciously sitting down. The other is like you have a backpack on that is so heavy, you're trying to stand up, but it is making you sit down.
Right.
And that's that proper level of resistance when, despite your best effort, no matter what you do, you're trying not to go down. The resistance forces you down, but it doesn't force you down any faster than 10 seconds. Otherwise, it's too much.
Right.
So it's those 3 phases. Make sure you've got the movement down. And I think we talked about this briefly in another podcast, Carrie, but as you're getting acclimated to the resistance needed for eccentric training, you can still go bananas with your smarter interval training, because that for a lot of people is really easy to just go 100% right out the gate, because you just crank up the resistance on the bike. It's a pretty familiar movement, and you can really maximize that while you're still learning the eccentrics. So you don't have to feel like, well, these 3 weeks are just lost causes because I'm not doing anything. No, not at all.
Yeah, no. But I just really don't beat yourself up if it takes you 3 or 4 weeks to work out what it means for you to do the eccentric exercises. Just, as long as it's progress, not perfection.
Absolutely. Always getting better. Second exercise-related FAQ for this week, Carrie, and that we just talked about doing smarter interval training on a bike. Frequently, people ask if we can do smarter, like, do we have to have a bike, or can we do smarter interval training via other means?
I have no idea. I have a bike.
Carrie has a bike. Well, it's interesting to know that Carrie actually has a recumbent bike. These are the
Not anymore.
Oh, you got a new one? Oh, you got
My new bike arrived this week.
Nice.
Yay!
Oh, you got one that you can stand up on?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
I haven't built it yet, but I have it.
So folks, just so you're clear on what we're talking about here. So when we talk about stationary bikes, there's 2 types. One is recumbent. That's the one that looks like a recliner. And then there's one that's upright, and that's the one that looks more like an actual bicycle. And the one we generally recommend for smarter interval training is the one that looks more like a regular bicycle, because it allows you to stand up on the pedals, like if you're pedaling up a hill.
So if you have a recumbent bike and you don't have the budget to buy a upright bike, you can use a recumbent bike. I've been using a recumbent bike all this time, and you can do it, but you have to hold yourself upright with the bars, which adds a whole another level of pain to the whole proceedings, because your arms, you're having to physically hold yourself up.
Yeah.
So you can do it, and and I've done that for a year. I'm not sorry that the recumbent bike is going, but I don't want people to feel like that they have to go out and buy a new bike now. You can make do with a recumbent bike. It just has a extra, you get an arm workout at the same time, and it is more difficult just to pull yourself up, but you can do it. Yeah,
and when it comes to cost, the good news is that we actually don't want the expensive kind of upright bikes. We actually want the less expensive kind. And what I mean by that is we don't want the electronic ones. We want the manual ones. They're sometimes called spin bikes. That's a specific brand, and you don't need to get that. But if you go on Amazon, for example, I think we have one in the SANE store for less than $200. It's a very simple mechanical bike. It's less than a cell phone, and they last a really long time, and you don't have to drive anywhere or do anything. So it's a really good investment. And again, you want the less expensive one that's mechanical, because it has no upper limit to the amount of resistance it can use.
Right.
Whereas the electronic ones, it's like it goes to level 20. Whatever that is.
And I must say, there were 2 things that bugged me about my recumbent bike. Well, one, the extra effort it took to hold myself upright was one thing, but also I topped out on the resistance, and then I couldn't do any more. And strange though this may sound, that was frustrating to me that I couldn't make the resistance.
Yeah, absolutely.
More.
Well, you're getting stronger. So, and that's actually an important point, folks. An analogy I like to use here. Again, once you find the right resistance, it's not going to be the right resistance for long. Going back to our earlier question, right? It'll be the right resistance for 1, maybe 2 workouts, unless you've been weight training for years and years and years, and then you're going to need to increase the resistance. So you're finding the right resistance is an evolving thing, and you need to keep going up. And an analogy I like to use for that is, for example, if you want your brain to get smarter, you can't, from an algebra perspective, once you've learned your multiplication tables, you can't just keep rehearsing the multiplication tables over and over again. It's never going to make you any smarter. Like, you get to a level and then you need to move on to
Something more
geometry and
complicated.
pre-calculus and blah, 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 blah. So once you've mastered 20 pounds, that's your multiplication tables. You've got to go up to 25. Like you have to. Continuing to do 20 will keep you where you're at. So if you're happy with where you're at, that's fine. But I mean, you really want to make sure you're increasing that resistance because again, we're not just exercising less, we're exercising less, but smarter.
Right.
Which is with more resistance. But go ahead,
I
Carrie.
was amazed at how fast I graduated from the 12.5-pound weight that I thought would last me forever to a 20-pound weight.
Yep.
I mean, it was just, it shocked me at how fast that was.
I think that's
that happened.
one of the coolest things about any form of resistance training, especially if you've never done it before, is just how quickly you will see strength improvements.
Yeah, it is amazing.
And when I say strength improvements, I don't in any way, shape, or form mean you're going to start looking like the Incredible Hulk. We've covered this in an earlier podcast. I guarantee you will never accidentally build too much muscle. It's not going to happen. Just like you'll never accidentally burn too much fat, you will never accidentally build too much muscle. But what you will start seeing is it's a heck of a lot easier to walk upstairs. Why? Well, because your legs are stronger. So historically, it was harder for your legs to lift your body up the stairs, but now it's easier. So you'll feel like you're in better cardiovascular shape, whereas in reality, just because your muscles are stronger, everything is easier. Everything is easier. And you'll just feel stronger and more confident as a person. And literally, week by week by week, you will see noticeable change. And for someone who's been strength training for years, that's you plateau just like anything else. But as you just get started, that's such a cool, you might even want to write it down. And because you'll see like, I am twice as strong as I used to be. Twice as strong in 4 weeks? What?
Right.
I mean, how that usually doesn't happen, right? So
Right.
that's pretty cool. But we've actually veered off the path, Carrie. The question we were answering was, can we use other types of machines for our smarter cardiovascular exercise? And we kind of answered it. We said yes, but there's a caveat there. The reason we recommend using, or the reason we're talking about using an upright stationary bike is because it's no impact and it allows us to add resistance easily. Those two things are required for smarter cardio. So for example, can you do smarter interval training by running on a treadmill? Well, the answer is no, because even though you could increase the speed and the incline of the treadmill, running is a high impact exercise and there's a finite amount of incline that you can't run up 90 degrees, so you can't do it by running. You can do things like elliptical machines. You could do things like there's a VersaClimber machine, which is a bit like you're climbing up a ladder. As long as the machine has zero impact on your joints, and as long as you can increase resistance indefinitely and safely, you can do smarter interval training on that machine.
So you may already have a machine at home that isn't a bike that you can utilize to do that.
Exactly. Just make sure it gives you enough resistance and make sure it's not doing more harm than good in terms of damaging your joints. Good
Awesome.
stuff?
Yes.
Good stuff, Carrie. Well, we've got a bunch more smarter exercise FAQs that we will get into next week, but I want to make sure we have time to debut the audio of the Slim is Simple nonprofit animated and hopefully fun educational piece. So folks, I want to give you an opportunity to listen to that. It's about 12 minutes long, and Carrie and I will sign off and we'll see you back next week.
See ya.
The question, when did healthy and fit start making us heavy and sick? Since the 1970s, we've been told we need to eat less and exercise more. Today, more of us are dieting and exercising than ever, and yet more of us are overweight and diabetic than ever. What's going on here? Staying healthy is one of the most basic abilities we have as human beings. This cannot be that confusing. Remember not too long ago when we didn't know what calories were, let alone count them, and almost nobody was obese or diabetic? How did that work? Did everyone from our distant ancestors up until a few decades ago know something we don't? How were they able to stay fit, healthy, and slim so simply? Without all the confusing diet, exercise, and calorie counting programs we have today. Without all the expensive pills, powders, and potions we have today. Without even really trying. How were they able to stay so slim, so simply? What's the secret? What's the mystery?
The code?
The puzzle? What's the key? What's the answer? What is the secret? What if it wasn't a secret? What if I were to tell you that the most brilliant minds in the scientific and medical communities knew how to make our bodies work more like those of naturally thin people? How to get back our body's natural ability to stay slim and healthy without counting calories or spending hours exercising? How to enjoy lives of simple slimness and health like 90% of us did just decades ago, and approach that work to heal us rather than starve us, that enables our body to burn fat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, rather than just a few hours at the gym. Over 1,100 international research studies and the best peer-reviewed scientific research and medical minds around the world have found it. The truth to healing our bodies rather than fighting them, so we can start making healthy again. First, you must free yourself from the last few decades of dietary misinformation. Forget about starving yourself. Starvation and deprivation are not healthy. Besides, the largest increase in obesity and diabetes in history took place alongside the largest increase of dieting in history. So why would anyone tell us that more dieting is the answer? Forget about counting calories and confusing math. Start thinking about common sense, simple biology, and proven science. But wait a minute, doesn't counting calories work? Well, maybe, but why do we all of a sudden need to count calories when we were slimmer and healthier before we even knew what a calorie was? Besides, calorie math does not work the way we've been taught. For example, it's been proven that on average we are consuming about 300 more calories per person per day than we were in the late 70s. Between then and now, that adds up to well over 3 million more calories per person, which, if the starvation is healthy, count your calories, and metabolism works like math premise were true, means the average American today should weigh well over 1,000 pounds. Over 1,000 pounds. Lucky for us, biology does not work like math. It works like biology. Let's think about the biology of your body like a sink. When a sink is working properly, more water poured in means more water drains out. The water level may rise temporarily, but the sink will automatically take care of that. A healthy body works similarly, automatically balancing us out. That's why we each haven't gained even close to the 1,000 pounds we should have gained since the 1970s if we needed to manually balance calories. Our body is designed to burn more when we eat more and burn less when we take less in. Just like we use the bathroom less when we drink less and more when, you know. A healthy body is designed to balance itself out. This is called your set point weight. More in, more out automatically. Less in, less out automatically. The only time the water level stays high is when the sink becomes clogged. When the sink loses its ability to take care of more in with more out automatically. Well, when does a sink get clogged? When the wrong quality of things are put in it, things that do not belong. When a sink is clogged, any amount of water in, no matter how small, will cause the water level to rise and to stay high. Well, wait, why don't we just turn the faucet down even more, cut the water level altogether, and keep the water level down forever? Well, that could work, except that we would inevitably starve to death. The answer is not to cut off food entirely, but instead to fix the underlying problem. We must unclog our sink. Our bodies become hormonally clogged when we put the wrong quality of food in them, causing the level of body fat to stay elevated. We have an elevated set point. Eating less is just like turning the faucet down. It doesn't actually fix anything, and it doesn't do a thing about the clog. We can keep our drain and our body from overflowing simply by only putting things in them they were designed to handle, by focusing on quality rather than quantity. Just like no quantity of clean water will ever clog a sink, no quantity of the high-quality, clean foods we were designed to eat will ever clog our body. Eat smarter, not less. Problem solved. Wait, what do I eat then? We eat clean, high-quality, hormonally clog-clearing foods that restore our body's natural ability to keep us slim. Well, and those are? Excellent question. The quality of our calories depends on 4 fascinating factors. Satiety, how quickly calories fill us up and how long they keep us full. Aggression, how likely those calories are to be stored as body fat. Nutrition, how many nutrients those calories provide. And efficiency, how many calories can be stored as body fat. The more satisfying, unaggressive, nutritious, and inefficient a calorie is, the higher its quality, the more sane it is, the more body fat burning hormones it triggers, helping us to clear our clog and prevent overeating. The more unsatisfying, aggressive, not nutritious, and efficient a calorie is, the the lower its quality, the more insane it is, the more body fat storing hormones it triggers, contributing to our clog and encouraging overeating. When we eat sane, high-quality calories, we provide our body with an abundance of nutrition. We automatically avoid overeating because these calories are so satisfying, and most importantly, we create a hormonal environment that dissolves our metabolic clog. They are like a natural liquid plumber for our biological sink. When we see how sane foods heal us, why it's so much simpler to eat more of them instead of starving ourselves is clear. And they are easy to identify because there are only 3 primary factors controlling the sanity of food: water, fiber, and protein. Water, fiber, and protein-rich foods are sane. On the other hand, dry, relatively low fiber and low protein foods are insane. Starches and sweets such as cookies and bread and pasta and potatoes are some of the insane foods that will contribute to a hormonally clogged sink. When choosing your sane foods, seek short ingredients lists and stay on the perimeter of your grocery store. Avoid heavily packaged and processed food. If your grandma wouldn't recognize it, don't eat it. The more natural it is, the more sane it is. Smarter eating, staying clog-free, and staying slim, simply like our ancestors and our naturally thin friends, is simple. Eat way more non-starchy vegetables, way more seafood and nutritious meats, more low-sugar fruit, and more nuts and seeds. Get so full and satisfied from eating as many sane foods as you want, whenever you want, that you're too full for dessert. So go ahead, double the portion of your nutritious high-protein main dish, triple that side of non-starchy veggies. Eating at an Asian restaurant? Great. Eat all the protein and the vegetable main dish rather than half of that dish and lots of rice. Eating somewhere else? Simply tell your server, hold the starch and double the veggies, and chow down, leaving no room for dessert. Never go hungry again. Remember, non-starchy vegetables, nutritious protein, fruits, nuts, and seeds were the only foods available to us while our metabolic system evolved. So when you think about it, it really makes sense that these foods are water to our metabolic sinks. What we're designed to take in, what keeps us in balance simply, and what keeps us from overflowing automatically. Sane, natural, water, fiber, and protein-rich foods are and always have been the best fuel for our bodies. Our ancestors stayed clog-free, healthy, and slim effortlessly, and we can too if we stick to putting clean water in our sinks. So instead of complex and counterproductive starvation and calorie counting approaches that are only needed if we eat clog-causing unnatural starches and sweets in the first place, let's stick with simple, proven science instead. Let's stick with the fact that our biology doesn't work like math. It works like biology. Let's eat more, but smarter. Let's focus on high-quality food. Hunger isn't healthy. We don't need to exercise for hours. We don't need expensive pills or complex prescriptions. This doesn't have to be complicated. This isn't some expensive Hollywood secret that only the rich and famous know about. The secret is that there is no secret. All you need is the science, the knowledge, and the answers that have been with us since the beginning of time to restore your body's natural ability to burn fat rather than to store fat. The ability to use biology to heal your body instead of starving it, enabling it to work more like it is designed to, more like the body of a naturally thin person. Think about it. Just about everyone stayed healthy and fit without even trying until very recently. Why? Because a healthy body automatically stays in balance at a slim and healthy set point. More in means more out, because it's not hormonally clogged by the wrong quality of food. Foods that our ancestors never had access to. And if you're thinking, I don't have time or money to watch what I eat, think again. This is as easy as slapping a piece of meat on the grill or sticking a piece of fish in the oven, and as cheap as steaming a few handfuls of non-starchy veggies. And I don't know about you, but a little more time in the kitchen sure beats a lot more time in the gym. Not to mention losing those gym memberships and medical expenses altogether. Now who's saving time and money? You are. Millions of Americans today are changing their lives with the power and confidence of knowing how to change their body. And you can too. You can enjoy food again. You can eat more, but smarter. More water, fiber, and protein-packed foods found in nature, such as non-starchy vegetables, seafood, nutritious meats like free-range poultry and grass-fed beef. or eggs and low-sugar fruits such as berries and citrus, and whole food natural fats like nuts and seeds. Let's enjoy so much of them that it's easy to avoid unnatural, dry, low-fiber, and low-protein starches and sweets. Let's heal rather than fight our bodies with an abundance of natural nutrition and enjoy the foods we were meant to enjoy, foods we were made to enjoy. Let's remember that starvation isn't healthy. Food isn't our enemy. In fact, eating an abundance of high-quality food is our most powerful and affordable tool to avoid obesity, diabetes, and other diet-related problems. Let's remember that this is one of the simplest things in the world, something that we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years without even trying, something we're designed to do naturally, something we can do again, now. Let's stop making ourselves heavy and sick. Let's stop complicating healthy and fit. Let's start making healthy again.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review, and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.